What up, YouTube? It's your boy, ATrueHero. And today we have the GOAT, the world champion of GOAT format, Ludo. Ludo, thank you for coming on the channel, giving this exclusive interview to your boy, ATrueHero. And I'm just going to start off right away. How does it feel to be the GOAT format world champion?
Yo, man, thank you so much for having me. And it's definitely an emotion. That's all I can say. It's you cannot really describe it.
I know that you've been playing GOAT for quite some time. How many years have you been playing GOAT?
I think it's been over 2 years. Um, I started like 2021. Uh, and yeah, it's been a while. It's definitely been a while.
So, why did you choose GOAT format over modern format?
So I basically started to play Yu-Gi-Oh around 2010, and then as soon as Dueling Network came out in 2011, I started to play online only, and I kept playing online only for, I guess, the majority and the rest of my Yu-Gi-Oh career. And I remember I was playing Advance when it was like Adamantipator, Infernoble, meta. It was really Eevee combo meta.
Yeah, I remember that
And
format. And for me personally, that format was cancerous.
it was really bad. And I was playing GOAT as a side thing. And I remember one of my friend, he actually told me, Ludo, you don't even enjoy Advance anymore. You don't even read the new cards. You don't even try to improve yourself. You just play because you are used to. Why don't you just switch to GOAT full time? And I remember his words. He told me, you could be the best in GOAT if you go right now.
Well, his words
In
came true.
advance, yeah, in advance, the way you keep playing, you can be just good, average good, but you can be something special in GOAT. One of the best, if not the best. And that's where I decide to pull the trigger, and I say, okay, I'm done with advance, it's not anymore for me, it's not anymore the game I used to enjoy. The game is too fast. It's like 4 turns for game. I enjoy play the grind game, bluffing, mind games, all that kind of stuff. And that
Right.
was not the same anymore.
I definitely agree with you on
And
that front because when I play advanced format, like you said, it's only about 4 turns for advanced format. But even still, because it's so combo heavy, matches still take upwards of up to 45 minutes, even though the turns themselves have gotten shorter. And modern format is pretty much establish a big board, and then when it's the opposing player's turn, they just try to break it. And if they can't break that board, then they lose. And I don't like that. That's not Yu-Gi-Oh to me. I really enjoy the grind aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh, which is why I play these retro formats such as Hat format, Edison format, Goat format. So I'm right there with you.
yeah, definitely.
Now,
And
here, actually, we can see this is the deck that you won the event with. Why did you
yes,
choose this deck?
well, Chaos Turbo has always been the deck that I've played since I decided to switch to GOAT format. The first two people that I met that helped me in my GOAT career were Young Sexy MF and Denano, and they were both playing Chaos Turbo. And so I started right in the beginning to use Chaos Turbo. Like this was the first deck that I pick up. It's actually funny because when I actually came to the competitive GOAT scene, like Chaos Turbo has just won the first World Championship edition, and it was from an Italian guy called Riclar91. So that's kind of funny that now I bring back Chaos Turbo to win the World Championship, and I'm the second person to do it, and it's again another Italian. And I remember I was playing Chaos Turbo with Young Sexy MF, my friend, and we were just learning the deck, and we were some of the first people to play 3 Jar of Greed, 3 Solemn Judgment, and now the deck is so much different. But yeah, this is the kind of memory that I have, and I guess bringing this deck was destiny to win the World Championship.
Well then, how so? You kind of briefly mentioned it with Young Sexy MF.
Yeah,
I couldn't hold my laughter in when you said
yeah,
that. That's such a great name. But how did you actually
yeah.
prepare for the World Championship?
Well, it's actually funny that you asked me this. So obviously you are the co-captain of Team Perfect Circle. So me, you, Big James, Dave, we have been hanging around in the voice chat for like the last month, almost every day, and there was not that much of preparation for this World Championship. I think I was already done with GOAT before this World Championship. I obtained 2 qualification, and neither of them were with Chaos Turbo, but they were with Flip Warrior, a completely different deck. And so since I was qualified, I was like, yeah, why not just playing? You know what I mean? I don't have anything to lose. So I played some ladder matches, and the last week coming up for the World Championship, I only play one ladder match during the morning, and like 2 days before the World Championship, I decided that I wanted to change my deck list, because my deck list was way different. In the beginning, I thought about playing 2 Solemn Judgment, 2 Raijeki Break. I didn't have any Mind Control or Dash Shoot. I had double Jar of Greed, so it was just a real standard deck list. But then I didn't like the Raijeki Break too much, because in the beginning I thought I want to have the most generic list, because last year when I tried to play the World Championship, I was playing Chaos Turbo with 2 Mind Control and 2 Dash Shoot, which was like unevenly pre for the mirror, and I end up playing Burn round 1, round 2 Warrior, so it didn't perform so well. So I was like, since this format has such high variance, even if I end up playing the mirror, I may still lose the game 1 because they open Trinity, and then game 2 and game 3 they have the side deck as well. So I just wanted to make sure I could make today 2. So in the end, I end up placing Scapegoat and Meta and 3 Royal Decree in my side deck, so I needed some space in the main deck. And so I end up putting the Mind Control and the Dash Shoot, and since I wanted to side Decree, I end up cutting the Solemn Judgment, and I decided to go for Wing Blast because for me personally, like, it's about personal choice. Wing Blast felt better in the recent period. Like I like Wing Blast because it's so better in the mirror match. It's slightly worse against Warrior, and you could say against Burn, it's Raijeki Break is way better, but I still wanted Wing Blast for the mirror match to try to lock my opponent when they just go set 1 and just Wing Blast, so it kind of makes them skipping a turn. And yeah, so I didn't test Scapegoat, Meta, and the Crease on the side deck because I never had this lineup for my side deck. I always played the Battle Traps, but I wanted to have Meta and Scapegoat because I saw a rising of pile decks right before the World Championship was starting. You know, like the couple of weeks before those pile decks, which are very aggressive beatdown decks, start to rising, and I was worried about them. So I just thought Scapegoat was the right choice, and it paid off in the World Championship. Like I didn't side it too much because I played mainly mirror matches, but in the key moments, especially in the final, it was really nice. But yeah, overall, my testing was basically playing the Edison ladder.
Right. I can actually testify to what you said as being the truth because, as you mentioned, we're part of Team Perfect Circle, the best Edison team. And every day you would just be hanging out with the boys and we would just be playing games and testing and just having fun. You never was like, hey guys, I'm busy. I have to test for Go. Not even once. So you really didn't test for this event. So it just goes to show how skilled of a player you are to do well in multiple formats and even win the biggest GOAT tournament yet. So definitely congratulations on that end. And you actually answered my next question too, because I was going to ask like about your deck building choices. And you've mentioned about why you drop cards like Solemn Judgment, why you didn't play multiple dust shoots, why you didn't play multiple mind controls. Like you already answered all of that. So
Yeah.
how useful was Royal Decree, the triple decree in the side?
Well, that's a funny one because I didn't side it too much because I only end up playing two warrior. One of them was SDL, probably one of the best warrior player, and the other one was against Duelinghigh, the issue in the top cut. And against SDL, I go in this situation where my hand is really bad, and I go like, okay, card destruction, discarding my Chaos Sorcerer, my BLS in hand, and I end up drawing the Royal Decree and the Swords Revealing Light. And I was like, okay, I'm such in a bad position. I have to use whatever I have in hand. If you have Eevee Storm, you have it. I activate Sword, I set Decree, and boom, he dropped the Eevee Storm. So I didn't resolve it. And against Duelinghigh, I was able to activate Royal Decree, but he was in a weird scenario because he only had one back row. So he just started setting one. So it wasn't impactful in my whole tournament. The reason why I wanted to play Royal Decree is because the World Championship structure was like day two, you could have the top cut would play on open deck list,
Right.
and every time someone lose, he had to post the replays. So all the information were out of there. You know what I mean? Like you could see the replays of any of your opponent. So how he sided, how he played, and you had the deck list card for card, day two. And so I was like, if I can make today two, what kind of edge I can have against top players? You know what I mean? Because my deck list is there, so they're
Mhm.
gonna know what I have, what I don't have. Um, my replays are there, so they're gonna know how I side. And so what I thought was like, day one, I'm gonna side Decree against Warrior, where I bring in Meta and Scapegoat. In day two, if I play some version of Chaos Turbo against a very high level player, like for example Ghost Rider, the plays like 3 Solemn Judgment, 3 Jar of Greed, the plays like an Eevee Trap list, I'm
Mhm.
gonna bring in the Decree going first because they are not expecting it. They think I only have it for burn or warrior. So that was the thought process. But I didn't end up playing anybody that had a EV trap line in their Chaos Turbo list, or anybody that was like someone that can, you know what I mean, some top high level players that is studying all your moves. So I never used this strategy, but it was there just in case. As I say, I play someone like Rider.
I'm a big fan of Royal Decree. Not so much in Go format because I'm not too knowledgeable of the format, but in Edison format, I've definitely popularized a card, and it's just a card that just eliminates all worries. I feel so safe when I have a Royal Decree up on board. So I can imagine that it's also as powerful, if not even more powerful, in GOAT format. Same thing with Heavy Storm, right? You mentioned that too. Like you just
Yeah.
had to play your cards, and it's like if the opponent had Heavy Storm, they had it. It's crazy how a card that was printed so long ago, right? Because there are a number of years between GOAT format and Edison format, and even still, Heavy Storm is just as impactful to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like Decree is one of those cards, especially if you don't expect it, because I never sided Decree in Turbo. I don't think there are that many people that do it because it takes a lot of space in the side deck and you have to build your main in a certain way. Like you just open set one and you go like, okay, I'm gonna set a couple of back row. You flip Royal Decree. If they play a lot of traps, they're gonna have a lot of dead top decks. And
That's
it's
right.
just if you can't find an answer quickly and you weren't expecting the crease, so you didn't side out many traps, like it's definitely gonna be a problem. Like it's a big problem.
It's a big problem. I mean, looking at your deck list, and your deck list obviously
Yeah.
has a minimum number of traps, but it would be a 1 for 7, right? And imagine going up a
Yeah.
deck that has a heavy trap lineup. The Kree is absolutely busted. So,
Yeah.
with all this talk about matchups and card choices, what was your hardest set that you played throughout the entire event?
So it was actually funny that you brought this up because if someone look at my bracket day one, man, my bracket was hard. It was like hard mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was stacked.
And yeah, and I played in consecutive. I played Ivar Rosito, James Ark, SD Killa, and then the last round Juve 89. Like those four are some of the best of the best. You know, some of the top high level. But actually, it's funny. My hardest match was round two against Dilf Tevas, a really nice guy that hangs around the World League discussion. And the reason why it was hard is because he was playing a good warrior deck list and like basically a very aggressive deck that plays Scape and Meta. And I end up siding in Scape and Meta because I didn't have any battle traps because I kind of need some battle traps to stop, you know, his Kaiku, Abyss Soldier, those kind of big monster. And he almost decked me out. Like he wins game one, game two we go on a crazy grind game, and since I didn't test that much, like I was very rusty. And as I said, I never played mate and escape, meta and escape. So playing as a little, you know, control mirror match was kind of hard. But I end up winning that game two with 0 card left in my deck. And then game
Wow.
three, yeah, and then game three, I took over the set. You know, I won game three. So definitely props to Dilf Tevas because he was my hardest game in the tournament.
Well, you've definitely had your fair share of difficult matches throughout the various different formats. And a lot of my viewers actually they know or focus rather more on Edison than Goat. Can you tell us about some of the differences? And this is definitely a question I should have asked before, but can you tell us
Yeah.
about some of the differences between like Edison format and Goat format?
Okay, so I would say the one of the main difference is that in GOAT format, dash shoot is at 3. So it's actually funny enough
Oh,
because day one, I end up losing 5 dice roll on 7, and I lost 6 game one.
that is
And
wild.
many of them were because of dash shoot, you know, because if you go second, and there were a lot of dash shoot on main deck in the World Championship. People playing 2 to 3 dash shoot. I think 2 was the average. I was just playing 1. And so that's a big difference because like if you open bad or if you open mid, but your opponent doesn't know, you can still try to, find a way to get out of that situation. You can just start to bait stuff, pretending you have stuff that you don't have. But if you open mid and your opponent knows your entire hand, and maybe you can have a good starter, but your opponent is able to remove that, that's really rough. So I would say that's the main difference. The second difference is from all the Trinity, I would say is Duo, because Delinquent Duo is a card that you have to play around through the middle of the game if your opponent didn't use it. So sometimes you have to set more to just leave one card in hand. Sometimes you say, okay, there are more chance you have Eevee Storm because you would have used Duo immediately. So you need to top deck that. So I'm not gonna play around it. And matter of fact, I played around in my final game 3 of my final of the last match. My hand was Snatch, Steal, Scapegoat, Torrential, and Charity. And I was thinking, okay, I'm about to set Scapegoat and Torrential. But then I said, what if he has Duo? Like, what if because he just dashed me. What if he wanted to resolve dash shoot first and then just Duo me? I cannot risk it, because if he discards both Snatch, Steal, and Graceful Charity, I have nothing left. So I end up just setting Scapegoat, and he had Duo. So I was able later in the game, because I hold my Charity, and then I was able to draw a Thunder Dragon. So wow. Duo is the second big difference. And the third big difference, I would say, is Magician of Fate, which is a huge difference, because in Edison, once you waste your Eevee Storm, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Eevee Storm is gone. You cannot have it anymore. I don't have to play around it anymore. But in GOAT, any spell can get back with Magician of Fate. So that's huge. So you can, until all the Magician Fate are out, you can never say, oh, I don't respect Eevee Storm because my opponent has already used it. So I would say those three are the main difference between GOAT and Edison. And I would say, mentioning some Edison card, I would say Gore, because in GOAT, once your opponent doesn't have any back row, you're gonna OTK, unless, I don't know, your opponent is maining Kuribo, which is very unlikely. It's a side deck card usually for burn and stain, but I'm talking about like Chaos Turbo Mirrors, Chaos Mirror. Like when I was playing my final, the last match, I went for Graceful Charity, drew BLS and Kaiko. I knew it was over. In Edison, you can never say that because there is Gords. So I would say those four are some of the main difference between the two formats.
And I also heard another difference between GOAT and Edison format was Konami did not implement a side or extra deck, rather, an extra deck restriction at the time. So in GOAT format, you can have an unlimited extra deck.
Yeah, you can, but since there are, like, it's not that relevant, because often, like, it's not like having Synchro Monster or that you would have in Edison. Like, most of the times you access your fusion with meta. I'm not the biggest expert in the extra deck use, I have to say, because, as I say, I never played Scapegoat or meta until today. I was never a fan of those cards. So yeah, that's a difference into the game, I guess.
Now, because you are clearly one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh players of all time, right? And you've shown it. What advice would you give to someone who's just beginning GOAT format or Yu-Gi-Oh in general? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, so my advice, like the mistake I see beginners doing, is switching decks too much. They play a deck that's often a tier 1, so, and they say, no, this deck is not that good. They start going on a losing streak, and instead of trying to understand what are the mistakes, they just switch deck thinking the other deck can give them a better shot, when in reality they are not playing their deck properly. So I would say pick a deck that's a tier 1 and stick to the deck for at least 3 months, and then you can say, oh, I want to switch decks, and the other thing I want to say is that playing a lot help you in the beginning, but the later you go on, I think it's more important to watching replays whenever it's your own replay to spot mistakes. You can do it. You can rewatch back one of your replay with your opponent face down. You can watch it again with your opponent cards face up to see what could you have done. Or you can also watch replays from the top players that use your deck. So who is the best player that's using the deck that I'm playing right now? What is doing this between me? And then let me question myself. And then I would say definitely finding a group or a person. I would say small group is better than having a large group. Like I did in the beginning of GOAT, because as I said, I started GOAT with young Sex CMF. He was a very powerful player, and starting with him helped me learning the game so fast. Like we just were helping each other, discussing play, discussing our deck. But as I said in the beginning, like we stick with Turbo for like 1 year. At least me, I stick with only playing Turbo for like Chaos Turbo for like 1 year. And the last thing I would say is that to not be too much result oriented. Like sometimes people come to me and say, oh, I scrubbed this tournament, this deck sucks. You still have to remember to yourself, like, this is a game, it's high variance. And in the end, what it matters is not winning, but is playing well. Like winning is only a consequence. Before winning the world champion, I never won any GOAT major tournaments in my life. Like all I did was topping events. I didn't have any win under my belt. Matter of fact, as soon as I switched to Edison, I won my first major. You know what I mean? I came in GOAT, it was rough. I came second, third. But in the end, it paid off. You know what I mean? Like, most important tournament, the win came. So what I would say is worry about playing well. Like, worry about what's the right play, and then the result in the end will come.
I think that is very good advice. And I mean, I agree with everything that you said. I do feel like people switch decks way too often. I mean, I'm a true hero, and people know me for popularizing Diva Hero. And people are always like, oh, a true hero, you're very good with the deck. And what they don't see is how much time I put into playing with that deck. I've been playing Diva Hero for 2 years, going on 2 years. So, like, of course, I'm going to top the event, right? I've been playing the deck for 2 years. So, it really does take time. And for some people, it takes less time than others. But at the end of the day, that's why I really like how you said at least 3 months. You really need to grind with a deck at least for 3 months, and you need to know the ins and outs of it before you're ready to either move on or expect to see consistent tournament results with it. So that is excellent advice. And like, also, you need to find a group of people, because you can't get good at something by yourself. I mean, you can, but it's going to take a lot longer. When you have other people with you, you can really go the distance. And that's why you got to find someone who's willing to match you, or who at least who's willing to teach you something. You need to continually climb and find better people, so that way you as a duelist can improve. So I mean, yeah, every piece of advice you gave, I I agree with 1,000%. And like you were saying about how you switched over to Edison and you got your first win, and like that's how I feel in terms of how you kept playing GOAT for a long time, and you were getting second and third, and that's where I'm at in Edison now. And I'm hoping that when the world championship comes for Edison, hopefully I can take the gold in that too. But that's for another day. So What's your next major Yu-Gi-Oh goal then? What? Because you've accomplished so much, Ludo. You've accomplished so much. So what else is left? What's your next major Yu-Gi-Oh goal?
I think my goal will be like trying to win the Edison World Championship because this is where as I said before, I went to this World Champion with not many expectation. Not because I thought I was bad at the game or anything like that. Just because I didn't enjoy going anything like stagnant, and it was you know what I mean. Who played Goat for a while knows what I'm talking about. Uh, Now I've been focused for the last period of my Yu-Gi-Oh career to Edison, so hopefully I will try my best to play the Edison World Championship on December on for my library. Um, so that's my goal.
Yeah, man. I'm going to get my invite, and it's going to be me and you in the finals. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so, bro. I think you are one of those people that can definitely win it. Like I mean, you haven't you can't, as you say before, you're kind of resembling my Yu-Gi-Oh character, getting 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 close, and maybe the final moment will come to the Ages on World Championship. I really wish to you that will happen because when you never won anything and you always go close, the feeling of it is unreal.
Right. And this is something that like I feel like a lot of people have not experienced. But when you keep getting close, when you keep getting second and third, losing hurts more. And everyone who is spectating says things like, "Oh, congratulations, you've done so well. You should be proud of your accomplishments." But for someone who's already gotten that kind of level of prestige multiple times, it hurts. It's actually not a good feeling to get second or third place. So, from the outside looking in, it can seem kind of selfish and ungrateful. But actually, for the people who've attained that level, they just finally want to grasp what they've been aiming for, which is a victory. So,
Yeah,
anyway, we're moving on to the final question. And it's a good thing because I think
yeah.
your mic's starting to cut out a bit, but it's all right because it's the final question and most important one. Do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, I do. First of all, I wanna thanks the Italian folks that I know from real life. The one where I kinda went through this experience because it was not just 2 years of playing Goat. I went to real life events, regionals and stuff. So I wanna begin with obviously young sexy MF. Even if he's not that active anymore, interested into the game. Like he was my partner tester. We first joined Rampage team when we were underdog, and I always knew we were better than them. I'm joking, but that was it. So I want to thank him in the first place because that's the guy that helped me figuring out before being able to walk in by my own leg. And we both learned how to walk together, I guess. Then I wanna thanks Dan Top Deck team, my real life friend Dani Casi. He was supporting me through the weekend. We are really close friend. Much love to him. And I wanna thanks Ali 1997, another of my real life friend. He was playing in the top cut as well, and unfortunately something bad happened to him. But even with that, he was still there supporting me. He was sending me message, "Come on, Ludo, bring it at home." Even if it was a bad situation for him, he was watching and cheering for me. So much love to him. I want to thank some guys from Rome, Purple Drunk, Banto. We lived some fun experience in real life. And moving on to the online people I met through my God career, I want to thank in the first place the Rampage guys, La Bounty, because he was the first one to believe in me. to me and Young Sexy when we were underdogs. He was like, yeah, I think these kids may have some talent, you know. And it's actually funny because we end up winning the season 1 of GOAT War League, being the underdogs. So I want to thank SD Killa, which was the captain of that team at that time, Ghost Rider, Carl White, John Wick, all the Rampage crew. And then I wanna thank some of the Overdose guy, which was my team season 2, particularly Arad, Chris Perovic, and Bobby Bodega. Are 3 good friends of mine. They always been supporting with me. Alvarado was really cheering hard for me in the final, and yeah, and then I want to thank still from the online scene. I want to thank the people from Foranis, which I played the War League season 3. So FDS in the first place because I was done with GOAT and he convinced me to come play the season with them. WGM, best GOAT player in the universe. Gangster Bro, Dingo Sig, which was the former world champion, and he congratulated me, he showed me respect. A lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for him as well. Lucas the Raitic, and all the people in the server. And last but not least, obviously, all my teammates from Perfect Circle that were going hard. In the first, my co-captain, ATrueHero, the co-founder of, because man, they literally 2 hours before the World Championship started, you told me, hey Ludo, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna make top 32. And I was like, maybe if I get lucky. And you say, no, you're definitely gonna make top 32. And then I think you have a strong shot on becoming the new world champion. And I remember your words during day 1, because I started my day 1 0-1, and I was them because you say them with such a big confidence that it really remain impressing to me. Then obviously I want to thank Big James Frazier. He was the one pushing me. He was like, hey, championship test, and I was like, don't worry, we can test tomorrow. And then he was like, Ludo, what are you testing for GOAT World Championship? You're not testing. And I was like, don't worry. So he's been big supporter of me on Discord, on YouTube. Much love to Cincy James. And then I want to thank, obviously, Dave Vieira, Ben Robot, and Yondamine 95, Soundboy, and so the entire Perfect Circle team, my family, Perfect Circle on top.
Great. I mean, and with that, guys, we're going to bring this interview to a close. Thank you, Ludo, once again for coming on the channel and just spitting pure GOAT knowledge to everyone. It was fantastic having you on, and I look forward to collabing with you again, man.
Thank you very much.
All right.
It was a pleasure.
With that, Perfect Circle and ATrueHero out. Peace.
Subscribe or you too will be sent to the Shadow Realm.